Let's welcome Mark Barta, lead software engineer, as he presents the last session. In this session, we will explore how Orchard Core can power not only websites but also cross-platform apps. Using a single solution, it's possible to combine an Orchard Core backend with a Blazor hybrid MAUI app, all sharing common components for a smoother development experience. The result is flexible setup and lets you build and ship modern applications faster while using the same building blocks across web, desktop, and mobile.
Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Mark Barta again. We already met yesterday, but let me introduce myself a little bit differently. So I'm a freelance software and developer with more than 15 years of experience working with web applications, web platform websites, and desktop applications as well. As it's probably obvious, most of the time I work with Lombik technologies, but I also do other projects as well. Let me tell you a story before I start talking about this MAUI application. 6 years ago, I woke up and I wanted to learn something new. Blazor has started to become more and more popular at that time. So I was like, okay, let's learn Blazor. And since I already knew Orchard Core quite well, I thought how to combine Blazor with Orchard Core. I didn't even know that there's like WebAssembly and server-side Blazor at that time, but I started to doing some research and I found this GitHub issue, do we have plan to use Blazor? And it was quite obvious that it was not like, there was no an official connection between Orchard Core and Blazor. So I started with experimenting, and I actually found a solution where I was able to render Blazor components from driver shapes, and I created well, an open source example project for that. And to be honest, it became quite popular. I got 21 more stars for that particular repository than I get usual. So I was really happy. On that, yeah, so basically I helped the community. I posted my replies on that thread, and it was an awesome experience for me. And fast forward today, or at least a couple of months before, we are in a world of AI. So when you can use AI to code, you can use AI to build UIs. You can see engagement-based videos where people get millionaire by vibe coding applications. So I was like, let's learn something new again, but no, this time let's use AI to help me learn something. At least I thought that's a good idea. But anyway, I wanted to stay with .NET. I do have experience with front-end frameworks like Vue.js, but since I already played with Blazor a little bit, I wanted to, move forward with it. And yeah, I decided to build a hobby project, not the one that I will show you today, but a different one. And I used AI somewhat, but not really for vibe coding, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's talk about what's MAUI and Blazor hybrid, just to be clear that everyone is on the same page. So according to ChatGPT, Blazor is a framework for interactive web UI. So basically, you write your front-end applications, but this time instead of JavaScript, you write C#. MAUI is a native shell. With that, you can build a .NET project that runs on Windows, Android, iOS, Mac, whatever. And Blazor basically can run in MAUI. By default, it's not the default, but there's an option to run Blazor application in a MAUI web view. So in the end, you can write mobile applications using Blazor. Okay, let me show you what I did. It's a very simple application. Basically, okay, so what I built is a very simple to-do application. What you can see here is the Windows version of the application. If I click continue to log in, it will open up the browser. Once it wakes up, because I guess the server went sleeping. Yeah, it opened the browser. So this is the browser. This is an Orchard Core application. I will log in. Okay, it says I can't close this tab now. I will close it then. And I go back to the application. You can see here it's like a very simple to do application. You have options to tick tasks. You can create one. It's created. You can resize the browser where it will become the layout for the mobile application later. This is obviously the default on mobile apps. We have a very simple sidebar, but basically this sidebar is only just here for the sake of demonstration, so it doesn't serve any useful purpose, but at least it's here. So what happened is on the admin UI, theoretically I'm logged in. Yes, I'm logged in, so when I go here to the content items, I can see that the new task was ticked, so it's done. So these are content types, obviously on Orchard Core. And when I go here, this is the new task, and this is not done. So yeah, so this application is, just a very simple demonstration and inspiration. And so you probably won't use this to-do application on your everyday life, and I won't get millionaire with this. But, at least it shows you that you can build content types and display them somehow on a mobile application, or at least in a MAUI application. Okay, let's go back to the slides. I didn't show you the Android demo because I was afraid that my notebook will just die, and it's really inconvenient, at least with the emulator I used, because I need to click around with the buttons. I should have spent some time to figure out how I can actually type to the emulator, but I didn't. So this is a screenshot from my emulator. You can see it works, or you can try it at home, and hopefully it worked there too. Okay, let's talk about the architecture, how I did it. So this is a screenshot of the solution I have. As you can see, I have a backend solution folder. I have a front-end solution folder. Yes?
Will you explain how you configure your application and why?
Yes, I will do that. Yeah, okay, so I have a backend, I have a front-end, and I have a shell. Let's go into details. As for the Orchard Core application you saw just before, I have a module, I have a theme, which is interesting because why do we have a theme with a headless Orchard Core application? And of course, we have the host web application. Okay, so we have the headless app with OpenID server configuration. I will go into details in a second. I have auto setup configured, so it's like convenient, almost as convenient as using Aspire. I was just kidding, but yeah. I have the to-dos module, which is extremely simple module. It has content types and APIs, and I have the theme. The theme is only there to be able to override the login page to use the same brand look and feel than the application does. And also just a quick comment why I use REST APIs. I was started with GraphQL and it worked, but with the actually modifying the items, so using mutations, I had to, so mutations are supported by Orchard Core, but in order it actually does what you want, you need to implement the proper providers for that. So like Orchard Core already has a lot of built-in providers for fetching content items, fetching the current user data, which is awesome, but there are no built-in mutations for the content items. So since I had to already implement something, I went with a simple solution, and I just created one simple API controller. But for the record, you can use GraphQL. And there are really cool libraries that you can use. Okay, the application itself, the MAUI Blazor hybrid app, for now it's a .NET 9 application because it has a little bit more better features as for the Blazor and MAUI. I have a very minimal component for the Blazor side. I have an anonymous page that you saw for the click here to login. I have the dashboard that shows the to-do items. And of course, I have multiple components for the to-dos, for creating to-dos. So yeah, just like a regular Blazor application. And I have the auth logic, which I will talk about in a second, and implemented here, and the API calls as well. Also, I have the shared folder. You already saw that I have a shared folder that contains two objects, two projects. One project is the domain project. That currently contains only the shared models, so like a to-do item .cs, which is obviously a very simple one, but in a bigger scale, it can actually contain some validation logic, business logic, something that you would use both on the admin UI and on the MAUI application, which is really cool because this way your application can share, the MAUI application and the backend application share the exact same C# code. I do have assets projects, which is basically there in order to have common styles and assets for both applications, backend and frontend. I use Tailwind 4, and I do have a common .css basically that first it initializes the Tailwind 4 ecosystem, and also have a couple of components already implemented there, like button, for example, because the button looks the same both on the admin and on both on the login page and on the MAUI application. And I, of course, have common assets like, favicon, logo, um, icons, for example, because I use Lucid icon library that's actually fetched using the libman library. So just to make sure I'm not using Node.js here at all. So I stayed with the .NET ecosystem. So I use libman for libraries like Lucid, and I use a really cool .NET library, or more like utility, and actually it's a .NET tool, so everything. I use that to fetch automatically the Tailwind CSS CLI, and during the building the project, thanks to some MS Build magic, it will automatically do the tree shaking and everything that's required to generate your Tailwind CSS file. So basically, it is utilized by both the backend app and the mobile app as well. Okay, authentication. As for the Orchard core side, I'm using obviously the OpenID server, and as far as I know, the most recommended authentication or authorization is done with the authorization flow and refresh token flow. So this is how I set up on the OpenID server. Also, I had to configure some basic stuff like require proof key for code exchange, which is required for the MAUI. And also the JWT token. Not sure if it's required by MAUI or the underlying library I'm using, but it was recommended. Of course, I created an application. So I created the harvest.demo.maui OpenID application. Obviously, it uses the same whatever I configured on the server. I enable the email scope, which is required, and implicit consent. Okay, let's talk about the MAUI side. On the MAUI side, I'm using the Duende Identity Model OIDC client library for handling all these protocol stuff like getting the token and refreshing logic and this kind of thing. What you can see here are two code snippets. My point with this, that theoretically, setting up authentication on the MAUI side is somewhat very simple. First, in the manifest file, you configure an extension, like a protocol for your application, which is basically like a scheme in your URL. It will be harvest demo / whatever. And on the right side, you see a C# code, which is built in the MAUI library called Web Authenticator that handles the whole flow. So what it will do, it will open up a browser with the given URL. In this case, my site will be your Orchard Core OpenID authorization URL. And the other parameter is the harvest demo / will tell the current environment, which is Android, let's say, that, okay, the return will be that URL. So Android will automatically open your MAUI application because of this scheme. So it works well on Android. It works well possibly on iOS, but to be honest, I didn't try. But it doesn't work on Windows app. I found an open GitHub issue, which is open since 2021 on the ASP.NET repository. And it says that this logic that handles this scheme, and Windows doesn't handle this. So Windows won't open your application just because it tells open harvest demo //. So it's a problem. Obviously, it's a huge GitHub issue with a lot of workarounds. But I was thinking, how does Electron apps do the same? Because a lot of applications use Electron nowadays, and they do it like VS Code does it. So how does it do it? Well, it uses an ad hoc HTTP listener. So basically, when you click login, it will start an HTTP server or like a listener on a given localhost port, and it will listen to it. And when it opens up, of course, it opens up the browser, and it gives the OpenID server this return or callback URL. When you saw that, you can close this tab now. That particular page was actually served by this HTTP server. So you can close it because actually the HTTP listener at that point is actually closed because it got what I needed, the token for the authentication. Okay, let's talk about designing and asset management. First, about designing. Well, this is a hobby project, so I won't get millionaire because of this application. I didn't use a designer to design my application. Still, I wanted to use something that's looking modern somewhat. So I used an AI designer tool. My favorite one, because I tried many ones, that you give a prompt and it will generate a design. I used Magic Patterns. So as you can see on my screenshot, I gave an initial prompt to design whatever I need for my application. And of course, I had 18 more iterations, so it ended up like this. Then Magic Patterns generates a React app with Tailwind 3. So basically, you can download that source code and either use it, if you want a React application. Or what I did, I gave it to ChatGPT. Okay, here's this React application, and I want, first of all, HTML templates because I'm not doing, React, and use Tailwind 4 because I'm not expert with Tailwind, but I definitely want to keep up to date. And nowadays AI uses Tailwind 3. Not sure what's the Buzz guys experience with it, but they really appreciate, I guess, that AI can understand Tailwind pretty well. And it also can generate Tailwind 4 HTML templates as well. Then, once I had my Blazor components ready, I used GPT-5 codex agent to generate basically here is my HTTP template. Learn this and go through all my components and change it so it looks like that. It basically almost was great. So it was really good, to be honest, and I was satisfied, but I obviously had some work with that afterwards because I wanted to have a common style like the buttons and stuff. So I moved these to the assets library. So I had to do some changes with that, but otherwise it was extremely fast and efficient. Then in the assets, as mentioned before, but mentioning it again, that in the assets library, I have a couple of MS-built toolchains, targets files. One is for copying, so whatever project references that target file, it will copy all the assets like the Lucid and fonts to the particular project, whether it's a theme or it's the MAUI application. And the other target file basically tells the Tailwind CLI that check whatever code is in my project that is CSS and compile it. So basically it's simple. The code is large, but it's very simple in theory. So everything happens during build. No, you don't need to worry about CLI commands. Where did I use AI? Well, I already mentioned that I used AI for prototyping the UI. I used ChatGPT to learn the basics because my overarching goal was to learn something new. Just to be clear, I'm not expert in MAUI or Blazor, but I want to learn new things, and I believe that AI can help you with that. Vibe coding, we can, have a separate discussion whether vibe coding is good or bad, but for learning, it's definitely great. Initially, it wasn't really helpful with MAUI bug fixes because I guess it was trained with an older MAUI versions, and I still had to do a lot of manual work like Googling GitHub actions, like for example with the authentication. It was something that I had to do manually. But otherwise, especially with this particular application, GPT-5 Codex was really helpful with the mundane tasks, like filling out the Tailwind classes, maybe just do a couple of bug fixes when I needed. And for this particular reason, I do have this agents.md file in the base of this repository. Basically, it tells the AI agents that this is a huge context, what you need to learn about this application, the best practices, what tools are used, whatever. So whenever you start using GPT-5 codec, whenever you start a new session with the agent, it will know exactly what to do or where to find it. So this was my journey. As for the future improvements, especially after the yesterday's meeting, Aspire would be an obvious addition. So like what I did during development, I ran both applications manually. So Aspire would basically fix it for me. What I did for another application, but I didn't show it here and didn't do it here, is that you can do a WebAssembly Blazor application in this same solution, because that WebAssembly application and your mobile application can share the same components, which would be great if you don't only want to support mobile apps and Windows applications, but you want, have a web platform or a web application for this purpose, for your to-do app or whatever. So a separate WebAssembly app would be for that purpose, and that could use the same logic behind asset management, components, whatever. Yeah, supporting account pages, I only did login, but obviously registration and other stuff can be a nice addition. maybe using Orchard Core 3 with .NET 10. These are some technical stuff that I could do later. But basically, this project is open source, and my goal was to inspire anyone who is interested in using these kind of technologies in their company for clients. So this is an alternative to React or Vue.js applications or straight up native Android apps, whatever. So yeah, that's it. That was it. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hi, am I correct in thinking that you were using the web view within MAUI to render the UI? Do you have any thoughts or considerations around using actual MAUI UI in that way, or was your purpose to share the UI across all platforms?
Yeah, I think that's up to what the developer know or want to use. So basically, you can use native MAUI XAML code to build your UI. But since I didn't want to learn XAML, but I wanted to learn Blazor, and I already knew Blazor somewhat, so I decided to go with this MAUI Blazor hybrid approach, which is like supported by the Microsoft. So that was the reason behind it.
I totally agree with you when you said about when using AI to use it to improve yourself rather than your code as much as you can. With the workflows and stuff, this is obviously a passion project. Are there any things you learn about using AI that you would take into your sort of day-to-day dev now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will still keep using ChatGPT for learning stuff and ask around if I'm stuck with something, which is not Orchard because it's not that great with Orchard, but with the generic stuff that you would otherwise find on Stack Overflow or whatever, ChatGPT is really cool on that front. As for coding and coding agents, this is definitely something that for a senior developer, it's an extremely useful addition. So it gives really fast and efficient experience with implementing something if the senior developer understands what they do. So this is another debate, but for a senior developer it's actually very useful. For a junior who doesn't know it, then probably it's a little bit dangerous. But for this kind of things, I like to keep this efficiency with AI agents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.